40 years of indoctrination, 40 years of medical comas that they've been putting people into, and now the evidence is starting to come out, because we've seen this. I did that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago at this point, when the report first came out that 85% of depression, anxiety, it has nothing to do with a chemical imbalance, okay? It's almost like, there was this guy that was deleted from the internet, and he has to broadcast on alternative platforms. It's almost like he first caught on when he was saying that depression isn't real. You can feel depressed, but being depressed, nah. That's just you not taking responsibility for your own damn actions. It's almost like he was onto something. It's almost like that's something everybody intrinsically knows, until you have some sort of vulture come across the table and say, no, it's not your fault. Here, just take this pill, make everything feel better. That's why I'm so staunch against these long-term medications. Obviously, not all medications. Okay, I'm not anti-medicine or some shit like that. Okay, I'm not calling for the revival of leech therapy or some shit like that. That'd be ridiculous. I'm just saying something that you have to keep on in perpetuity in order to fund and stuff the pockets of big pharma. I'm a little bit more skeptical of when it comes to, penicillin for a certain itch or a burn that doesn't want to go away. If there's a certain end date to that, that's totally fine. That's all good and well, but it always sat differently with me. It's like, okay, growing up in schools, it's like I'm 32, so I went to school in the 90s and the 2000s, so I seen all of this stuff take place firsthand when kids being a little bit too rambunctious in the classroom were prescribed the Ritalin, and then all of a sudden they just became zombies at their desk. It just always kind of sat weird with me that, oh, okay, cool. So you're taking something because you're sick and you just have to continue to do that? Wow, that seems like a huge burden that you kind of need to find some sort of a much more long-term viable solution in order to cure. No, just continue to take pills for the rest of your life and never improve anything? Is there something else that you could probably be working on? Interesting. And then even for kids, it's almost like, kids are going to express themselves in weird ways, and that's why you let them do that. You don't place any of the responsibility or any of the authority on any of their decisions. You just let them act out until they hit a certain age. It all depends throughout different areas of the world, so I don't need to give a firm date or a firm year, but that's the way that we used to approach these things. But now all of a sudden, with a bunch of other big pharma benefactories coming out of what they're doing to kids nowadays, I don't know what they're thinking with all of these studies getting released right now, but it's almost like there's something a little bit more profitable on the horizon, so they can kind of let go of the whole, antidepressants, like the headline says there, more effective than sugar pills, only 15% of the time. More effective than placebo, 15% of the time. How many people? I can probably list on two hands the amount of people that I know that are on antidepressants. Most of them, actually, overwhelming amount of them are women, by the way, which is just a little fucking weird if you ask me. Coincidental, we could go through that at a different date, but it's not entirely designed to drag women this time around. I got there's other videos for that and another time perhaps. But the whole recentering society around the easiest way out, taking the easiest path, this is what's led to how many million people just in the United States alone on antidepressants in some form or fashion. Instead of facing your problems, your shortcomings head on. No. Just take this pill. Everything will be fine. Eat the bugs, live in the pod, wear the gray jumpsuit, take the happy pills. Your life will just be fine. And just like with all this coof shit that's been hanging over everybody's head for the past 2 years, they are never going to be held accountable for it. A new report says that antidepressants are more effective than sugar pills, only 15% of the time, and have other side effects. Yeah, we know, because it plays around with your hormones, and your mind is warped and becomes dependent on those constant influx of hormones. You're messing around with shit that you never really fully understood to begin with, and now you're going to have a generation that's going to realize that, oh shit, we were kind of shortchanged by just having pills shoved into our face. Now what the fuck are we going to do? Maybe a reason why they're putting this off to the side. Big Pharma I'm talking about here for a moment. Putting this away, okay, just saying, yeah, it only works for some people. But then once they realize that, oh boy, we got some more hormones to deal out there, more surgeries to take care of. Oh boy, now we can have another crop of long-term users as well that have to reconcile with the fact that they chopped off a bunch of their secondary sex characteristics, and now they got to rationalize throughout the rest of their life, regardless if they decide to regret their decision or live through the rest of it. Because, hey man, if you've seen some of the scars I was going to show, and I can't get away with it, even on this platform. I wouldn't even bother with it. It's currently on Rumble exclusively right now. You're seeing this stuff early for this week. Ugh, all that crap. But no, there's some graphic stuff that I wish I don't see anymore of how these plastic surgeons that do these sex change surgeries on kids, how much material they take from forearms, from legs, and how infected they get. It's disgusting in order to make a penis for a girl who's chopping off her tits, redoing all of her fucking plumbing, only to get a dick that doesn't work. Man, Guantanamo isn't a big enough place to stack these people in. And these are the people that, and who even knows how many there are out there right now that are going to be dependent on trying to rationalize through the rest of their life. Because again, you also know the other scary thing about kids who have gone through transgender surgery or any sort of gender affirming care, how quickly they're killing themselves off at a 40% clip, higher than everybody else. Or no, that's in totality. It's a little contrite to say that this is some end of the empire shit, but we're kind of here. Since the 1980s, psychotic drugs known as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, yes, which include Zoloft. I'm on Zoloft. Why don't fucking kill you, motherfuckers? Lexapro and Prozac, among others, were trumpeted as a revolution in the treatment of depression and have become a mainstay of mental health treatment. Yeah, of course. And I'm sure you probably know somebody, okay, if given enough time, who's been on one or all of those, because again, they got to cycle through all of these things. It's either an updated pill, updated dosage, increased frequency. It's just sick shit. According to Newsweek in 2019, 43 million, or 1 in 8 Americans are taking an SSRI. And if you want to break that down along sex lines, it tells a pretty grisly tale about those boss bitches, those you can have it all, you go girls. Yeah, strong, independent woman. Yep, you're independent of what exactly? All right, a man. And then you ended up getting dependency from a couple of cats and a box of wine and a handful of fucking happy pills. I don't say that triumphantly, and I'll at least recognize it outside of Big Pharma, who's just going to go, hey man, we were just following the science at the time. We were listening to the experts who didn't know fuck all to begin with and just decided, yeah, fuck it, what's the worst that can happen? An entire generation, multiple generations wrapped up in a pharmaceutical fucking spiral towards the bottom. Len noted that those numbers have likely risen during the COVID pandemic due to rising anxiety and doctors phoning in so many new prescriptions for Zoloft. Great, wonderful, fantastic. The drug was prescribed so often the FDA warned of drug shortages. Great. Doctors with very little psychiatric training prescribed SSRIs to children and adults. Yep, they all should be put on a fucking wall. Evidence is increasing that doctors are overprescribing SSRIs. You don't say, oh, I feel bad. Well, here's a happy pill. There's Sally, Timmy. According to the outlet, one recent study cited by Newsweek revealed that 15% of patients derive any more benefit from the drugs than they would a sugar pill. Additionally, withdrawal symptoms for long-term users. Yeah, and this is where it gets fucking nefarious, because I think that this is alongside that of like heroin, where withdrawals will put you right on the brink or push you over that of death. May be more severe than previously believed and sometimes be worse for the patient than the original disorder. Yeah, exactly, because you become chemically dependent on these pills that are fucking around with you. And they knew about this shit the entire fucking time, but then just decided, oh no, just keep them on the consistent cycle, okay? Ergo, keep placing this financial burden over top of them. So in the United States, they either got to keep working at a shitty job that provides at least a little bit of subsidization from health insurance. Okay, so you keep the little worker bees busy. Or in Canada, you got to get prescribed also a sleep aid on top of that, so you can at least pass the hours in order to go see your GP in order to get another fucking prescription. Fucking socialized medicine sucks dick. Some patients are even, may even continue taking SSRIs merely to avoid the withdrawal symptoms, which were thought to be temporary and mild. God, where have we heard? I guess that just means that the science has changed, huh? Many patients were told by doctors that they were experiencing a relapse of their depression. Yep, no, where have you heard that one before? I can't get off my antidepressants because then I just become depressed again. So what's the entire point? Okay. Or if you acquire a certain level of tolerance to your dosage, that's why they got to continue to shuffle along from fucking pill to pill to pill, and that's why you got to shop them to begin with in order to see what clicks with you. Like, I've never been on an antidepressant, and I fucking will fight it tooth and nail if one is ever prescribed to me, which, yeah, God willing. It's because I don't want to get put on that carousel of constantly needing to be taking pills in order to perform regularly. And that one too. Anyways, close to 26 million people, which is more than 60% of Americans on SSRIs, have been taking the drug for more than 2 years. 6 million of them have been on for a decade or more. Great, with no end in sight. It never promises to actually cure the depression, cure the anxiety. No, heaven forbid any of these psychiatrists would actually address any of the underlying problems that are causing the depression, that's causing the anxiety to flare up. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. I'm depressed, so I can't go to the gym. No, your fat ass is depressed because you haven't been going to the gym. Oh, unbelievable. Again, I can make some anecdotal claims here for a moment, but hey man, I remember my breaking point when I couldn't fit my fat ass into a XXL t-shirt when I was just going into high school. Blue, what was that? Blue Puma shirt, right? Yep. Having a fucking mental breakdown. Thank God my parents, instead of just saying, "I'll just shuffle them off there, just put them on some pills, it'll make them feel better that way." No, not that long after, ended up getting my ass into the fucking gym, and now I'm, down just about 200 fucking pounds, so imagine that. Do I still get depressed from time to time? Yeah, if certain things end up happening, okay? Like if I end up catching a nefarious fucking strike for no good reason, I immediately am a little bit shocked and saddened by the situation, but then I fucking move on with my life. Jesus Christ, not everything's the end of the fucking world. Yeah, when the family dog died, I was pretty fucking sad, and that was kind of upsetting for a couple of days, but did I end up going on a bender? Did I end up taking up fucking pot? Did I gorge myself on food? Fucks no. I did my job, I cut my videos, I went and I exercised because I understand that depression is something that can happen to you. How you approach it and how you fix it is incumbent on your own decisions, not at the whims of fucking Pfizer or Moderna or Bayern Munich, whatever the fuck that other one's called. Everybody knows Pfizer or Moderna over the past 2 years, okay? But no, I ain't putting my health in the hands of people who prioritize profits over human beings. This used to be a talking point to the left, but they seem to abdicate all that responsibility around the same time that they were your body, our choice, and then all of a sudden they had a lapse in judgment, or it's like, no, my body, my choice, I guess. But then they also kind of abdicated that ground when they were like, men can also get pregnant, you fucking weirdos. Consensus is that SSRIs help some people with severe depression, but those patients are minority of people who take the drugs. Yeah, it's almost like the prescriptions for those, okay? Like those people, I don't know those situations, okay? They could legitimately have something fucked up between the ears. But then again, is that maybe something a little bit different than severe depression? Like, I'm not discounting the fact that schizophrenia, okay, severe mental breaks do exist. So this severe depression that's out there, could that just be a symptom of a greater cause? Like, again, these are questions that these doctors aren't asking, okay? They already have the solution in mind. All right, Zoloft and Prozac, and here you go. New study by Dr. Mark Horowitz, a research scientist at the University College London, wrote Serotonin Theory of Depression, a systemic umbrella review of the evidence. Yeah, I think that's the one that we probably cited before. The paper debunked the foundations upon which pharmaceutical companies marketed drugs like Prozac, Lexapro, and Zoloft to consumers for decades, such as the idea that depression is associated with deficits in the concentrations of activity of the brain chemical serotonin. Dr. Joanna Moncrief, I remember that name, professor of critical and social psychiatry at the University College London, the lead author of the serotonin paper, told the outlet, "We had a mistaken view of the psychiatric drugs are doing. The idea that they work by targeting the underlying biological mechanisms that produce the symptoms of medical disorders is actually not supported by evidence for any type of mental disorder." Let me run that back one more time because that is fucking huge. This idea that they work by targeting the underlying biological mechanisms that produce the symptoms of medical disorders is actually not supported by evidence for any type of mental disorder. Any type of mental disorder. No fucking evidence? No evidence. Yet you filled out how many billion prescriptions and put so many people on the fucking little hamster wheel of Big Pharma? Whew. Oh, this is... unbelievable. Unfucking believable. Whether that's depression, schizophrenia, or whatever. Nice technical term you used there, Doc. She claimed that the drugs alter normal brain states and normal mental states and processes in ways that not much different than recreational drugs like alcohol. Yeah, I've heard some stories about a handle of vodka and some Zoloft, and what that'll do for you. He added that SSRIs, small benefits seen in placebo-controlled trials, can be attributed to the emotional numbing that reduces the intensity of feelings caused by depression and anxiety. Again, that's another thing that you'll hear by people that are first put on antidepressants, which is just kind of weird. You're put on these drugs in order to get out of the heavy blanket that is depression. Another analogy that is used by people who suffer from depression. They put that on and it's like, oh my God, I feel so depressed. And then you decide to pop a pill that instead of a wet, cold, heavy blanket, okay, you just decide to trade that in for kind of like a bubble boy existence where you don't really experience the vibrancy of life. God, the lengths people will go to not face their shortcomings or go to the fucking gym. It's wild. Oh yes, at the expense of fuller experiences of the ups and downs of life, and the depression, which sometimes follows the reduction in SSRI use, is caused by the chemical dependence on the drugs themselves. Yes, immediately creating a whole bunch of junkies. Millions, in fact. Recent studies cited by the outlet have linked stress to depression. Oh, imagine that. Huh, stress. It's almost like something you can fucking deal with. Dr. Michael Face, a professor of psychiatry at UPenn's Perelman School of Medicine, said that stress hormones cause the brain to be flooded with the neurotransmitter glutamate, placing it in the state of chronic overstimulation. More glutamate is released from a lack of sleep, which can cause an inability to function in daily life, which creates more stress. And again, I know a few people that are consistent SSRI antidepressant. I don't know exactly what their prescriptions are, but normally it coincides with a sleep aid as well. So that makes sense. You're constantly stimulated, and then you're just putting in another stimulant in order to create more hormones. So you're not actually addressing the root fucking cause. Unbelievable. People have been on these pills for what, 4 fucking decades at this point, and you couldn't figure this out. I'm sleeping like shit. What should I do, doc? Here's another pill. Unbelievable. After the paper was released, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration was like, no, nothing to see here. They fucking sent out Baghdad Bob. No, nothing. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, okay? What's that? Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Don't worry about it. Published an analysis of all antidepressant clinical trial data in its files. Oh, it took them this landmark study to come out and for the FDA to go, yeah, well, okay, here's all of our papers. The study concluded that the active ingredients in 10 of the most popularly prescribed antidepressant medications made a meaningful difference in only 15%. So the FDA knew this entire time the cost of the health of so many people, okay? Because again, depression, anxiety is an underlying cause of how many people that decide to hurl themselves off the rooftops in the Western world, okay? And that's normally attributed to different activities in the Middle East, say. But how many people decide to end their life prematurely because the depression and anxiety won't go away and nothing's going to end up helping? You sold them a bad bill of goods and now it's like, oh, whoopsie. Oh, what did you just recently come to these conclusions? No, we knew all along. Oh, okay. But hey, man, if we can save one life by endangering 85%, if you needed another reason to hate the FDA, there it is. According to Newsweek, one reason may be that SSRIs are effective for many people, not because of the drug, but rather the placebo effect. Well, I'm doing something about this instead of lifting a fucking dumbbell, going for a walk. That the patient creates an expectation of healing that results in improvement. The outlet cited research that the placebo effect is successful in 30 to 40% of cases of depression. I've done a couple of videos on the placebo effect. It's on the second channel. It was actually a pretty interesting study. You should go back and take a look at that. I got a second channel, by the way. You can go and take a look at it. It's only on YouTube right now, but thinking of moving it over. Maybe it'll help on Rumble. I don't really know. Anyways, Dr. Eric Turner, a former FDA clinical reviewer who is now a professor of psychiatry and pharmacology at Oregon Health and Science University, recalled discovering multiple negative trials in the first psychotropic drug application he reviewed for the agency in the late 90s. Oh, okay, cool. So since the late 90s, at least somebody at the FDA could have done something about it. Great. So they didn't know the entire time, just 75%. And being so shocked that he immediately took to his superiors. He told Newsweek that his boss said, it happens all the time. Oh, evil motherfuckers. That's why I think the rank and file people at all of these big alphabet agencies, okay, FDA, CDC, I'm going to include the FBI, the CIA. I think all these people are probably well-meaning. It's the motherfuckers at the top that are so out of touch with this stuff, they don't want to rock the boat, okay? They are the ones that want to uphold the status quo. But that's just my little tangent on that, okay? before revealing that his estimation of roughly 40% of antidepressant trials were negative or failed. Wow, and that was all the way back in the late 90s. Interesting. In December, the U.S. Surgeon General issued a mental health crisis advisory warning that from 2009 to 2019, high school students who reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased by 40%. Yep, because you're taught a whole bunch of fucking nonsense, and especially during that time, because I was already out of high school at that point. I graduated 2008. Yay, good for me. I compare and contrast what I see when it comes to curriculums in today's day and age as opposed to what I was learning. I was learning basically useless fucking facts, but today they're indoctrinated. And if anybody's looking like me, likes the things that I like, oh yeah, you're constantly fucking derided. So where do you think those feelings of hopelessness and sadness are going to be coming from? Okay, it's only a 10-year span. Well, actually, it's even earlier than that at this point, about a 12, 13-year span where you're constantly indoctrinated with all this stuff. Unfortunately, it's during your most formative of years. But when you're outside of the high school indoctrination camp system, God, the world just gets so much fucking better. But yeah, instead of addressing the root problem of that, like being taught useless shit, or in fact, nowadays, harmful shit, no, just here, take some pills. Unbelievable. And you knew the entire time that it was wrong. They increased by 40%, included over 1/3 of students, and that the pandemic has only made things worse. Yep, it's almost like the government was just going out of their way to fuck your life up. So yeah, man, pills are not the way. They've never been the way. They knew it was never, ever going to solve anything. They just tried to turn a buck. It's almost like if you take a self-reliant self-improvement look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to solve so many problems for yourself. That's what I try to do with my channel. Take a look at all the facts that are out there, disseminate what they want you to hear, what they don't want you to hear, and then present it as best as I can. And sometimes with more jokes than the other ones, because hey man, this is a pretty heady topic, but it's one of importance, and I'll be happy enough knowing if somebody hears this message and they just decide to maybe put the pills away for a moment and actually take some action towards improving their life. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.